What do you hear today? How do you find yourself? How do we find ourselves? It must have been that moonglow way up in the blue. It must have been that moonglow that led me straight to you. I still hear you saying, dear one, hold me fast. And I start in praying, oh Lord, please let this last. We seem to float through the air, heavenly songs seem to come from everywhere. So now when there's moonglow way up in the blue, I always remember how Moonglow gave me you. How Moonglow gave me you. Major 7, sharp 11 chords. Mystical, magical. These patterns that we devote ourselves to even before we're able to make music with them. I was attracted to the darkness of this sound. Half step, whole step, 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 half step, whole step. Isn't that interesting how we find these symmetrical patterns and then they produce a certain kind of sound. And on the guitar neck we can see the relationship of those notes to one another. There's a consistency that develops. And then there are those of us who completely find new tunings for their guitar over and over again. I've always been very much in admiration. David Wilcox is who comes to my mind. You know, he has this beautiful, what is it, like a graphite guitar, like a carbon fiber, something like that. And so it's very strong. And so he can tune the guitar any way he wants while always maintaining stability of the neck, right? So, and he just goes from one tuning to another seemingly just as familiar with one as the other. For me, oh man, I've invested so much time into these patterns. Maybe one string. Find the cost of freedom. Buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down. It's a song I heard from Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Find the cost of freedom buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down. It speaks to me of the inevitability of our death. Yes. And can that understanding be helpful as we are trying to allow our false selves to pass away? Can that impermanence meditation, because that's really what that is, right? I'm having an impermanence meditation. I'm realizing that this body will be swallowed up by the earth. Yes. It's a standard practice in some circles, and impermanent. And in fact, we're all fascinated with death, aren't we? We may not really know how to talk about it honestly and to talk about our fears surrounding it, but we rehearse it all the time. We watch it on television, don't we? We're fascinated when some of us die. We follow those stories with great emotion, with great fervor, and then we watch violence on television over and over again. Even the Christ story is one of trauma, is it not? We're trying to understand trauma, aren't we? A ceremony. We pass through the ceremony and into another realm. We surrender that story of our personal loss. Sometimes I have a hard time tuning my guitar. The places I've been, the people I know, the deaths I died, the seeds I sown. I give way where way is to be given. I let go. Let life do the living, yeah. We come to understand that there is no personal loss. There is nothing for me to lose. Love one another as you love yourself, and love the one who is deeper, the breath in you. You are the way, the truth, the life, the salt of the earth. Let love rise in you. The kingdom of heaven now. The places I've been, the people I know, on the deaths I died, the seeds I sown, I give way where way is to be given. I let go, I let life do the living, yeah. Let life do the living, yeah. How is it that we let go and let life do the living? How do we, as they say, get out of our own way? I've heard people talk about that a lot. What does it mean to love ourselves truly? And what does it mean to love our neighbor as we love ourselves? And truly, what does it mean to love God? How do we find ourselves today in relationship to those questions? What if we don't have to make any judgments? What if we don't have to judge ourselves right or wrong on this path right now? What if we released all of those? What if we walked away from all of those supports that we have that tell us the story of ourselves as a good person? What if we walked away from all the supports that are telling us we're a bad person? Wouldn't that be a loving thing to do? What if we're so caught up in our own identity as good that we're missing love? Is that possible? The stories I've read and my teachers have said that it is, and my own experience shows me the toxicity of that. It's very challenging, though, to walk away from the stories of ourselves, because we've been trained to believe those stories. We've been trained to build those stories. We live in a culture that has appropriated the message of love to do its own capitalist bidding. We must be able to say this with a smile, yes? Can we observe that which is going on in our world with forgiveness? Can we see through the bullshit and continue in love? A lot of times what happens when we start seeing through the bullshit is we get very angry and disillusioned, and rightly so. It's almost an appropriate first response. It reminds me of Moses. When he begins to receive the message that he is the savior of his people, and he goes out and, I believe, slays an Egyptian, buries him in the sand, and then gets so scared that he runs off? Is that what happened? I'm no Bible scholar. I take these stories and I allow them to be in my life. They speak to me. I devoted myself to the study of scriptures for some time, a short time, honestly. And then I liberated myself by tearing many pages of the Bible out. I was with friends when I did it. I can't judge it, whether it was right or wrong. It just was. It seemed appropriate. I have a friend who is a devoted Bible scholar and mystic. He informed me and my life deeply and greatly, and his family shared much love with my family. I saw him not long ago, and I felt my love for him. We had a good conversation. In fact, several times over the past while we've gotten together. It's good to connect with those faces from our past, to possibly reintegrate those friendships into our lives, to begin to understand those that we may have left behind as relevant once again. Sometimes we have to leave form behind, and sometimes that means that we leave certain relationships behind for a while, I think. But it doesn't necessarily mean that those relationships are over. We may, with forgiveness in our hearts, come back and explore again, discover, understand those relationships from a broader context, with deeper love, basically. Love, I think, broadens our experience. It broadens our understanding of the world. I think that the rational mind without love is quite deprived. That was my experience. But I think if we ignore the development of our rational mind, something's left out. Can you agree? So how, after many and diverse explorations, may we come to integrate all that which came before us? Some people stay with their science, hoping to find self-reliance. Some people open the scriptures just hoping to find ways of coping with all those crazy primate constructions when finding deductions lacking in primary truth. La 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 la, yeah! Oh oh! Do 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 la 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 la. Do 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 da pop pop do 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 oh dee da oh dee do ba ya oh ba do da 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 de ah da no ah. Human experience varies. Why not just eat these strawberries? Tigers above us and tigers below. How can we ever really know? I see you, my friend, as we move toward the end. I'm aware of my own ego. There was a young woman running through the forest, being chased by tigers. She came to a cliff. She could hear the tigers in the forest behind her. She found a vine, and she began to crawl down the side of the cliff. As she got about halfway down, the tigers, she could hear them growling up above her. And she looked down and she saw 3 more tigers down below her. Tigers above, tigers below, clinging to a vine. A little foothold. And then she looks up above and she notices that there's a family of rats. Mother and father, children, and they're chewing on my vine. They're chewing on the vine that I'm holding. Tigers above, tigers below, and rats are chewing on her vine. And she notices in that moment, just over there, a small strawberry plant with one single berry, plump, juicy, and red. And she simply reaches out and plucks that berry.
Genesis stories are, as we know, quite important, aren't they? The nuances we understand from our comic book character Genesis stories, the details of those stories can be quite important. They define us. So it's important that we get at least that we get the spirit of that Genesis story right. It's important that we get that Genesis story correct. Is it important? It's at least important that we understand rightly the spirit in which our Genesis occurred. $65 million years ago, an asteroid strikes the planet. It's already a scary place for mammals to be before the asteroid. living kind of in the shadow of these great beings.
You are the promised kiss of springtime that makes the lonely winter seem so long. You are quiet hush of evening that trembles on the brink of a lovely song. You are my dreams of home, my northern star. The dearest things I know is what you are. Someday my happy arms will hold you, and someday I'll know that moment divine when all the things you are, when all those things you are mine. All those things you are. You know what I'm saying. All those things, all those things you are, so beautiful, everything about you, even the stuff that's hard to live with. I'm saying all those things, all those things, all those things. Talking about all those things, all those things. Talking about all those things you are. All those things you are. All those things you are. All those things you are.
Are we threatened? If so, who is threatening us? And is that threat real? If that threat seems to be coming from outside of us, are we seeing clearly what that threat truly is? Are we certain that fear is not clouding our judgment? Yes, it is a seemingly terrifying thing to lose one's own life, to surrender one's own life. And there seems to be some kind of discord for us, for those of us who have said some kind of pledge of allegiance to a man that we call Jesus. There's some kind of discord in there for us, isn't there, in that surrender? And we have to make up another story. It's almost like we have to kind of go back to a state of consciousness that the Christ was obviously trying to deliver us from. If we want to remain in some kind of sense of safety, we have to create the other. We have to create the alien. We have to create the enemy. But in that, there is some kind of beautiful recognition, isn't there? It doesn't have to be looked at as some kind of failure. We can actually see ourselves contracting from the Spirit of Christ. We can see ourselves protecting